Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Thursday. It's Thursday Tales Day. I thought I would use Thursday as a day for me to do my storytelling. And these are true stories to the best of my recollection and my perception of what went on during that time. So these are stories from my life. And excuse the voice, y'all know I'm a little bit under the weather, and today I'm sounding like a man. So, it's me with a man's voice this morning, alright? I got my tea, so hopefully when I'm able to drink it, it'll help break up some of that flim flam and all that good stuff. It's just that time of the year, you know? Y'all like the dog? The doggy picture is for Parker. It is a reference to my doggy, but that's not how he looks. But I thought that was a cute dog, and I thought I needed some upbeat music. You know, I always kind of play that slow, relaxing. Well, for this storytelling, I would use a little bit of upbeat. The sun is just coming up over here. It's a cool 48 degrees in South Kakalaki. So yeah, we're a little chilly. Okay, so for those that did respond to different, okay, let me start off. For those who responded to me, I'm talking about the Kohlberger case and Shirley Strawberry and Ernesto. There were some, not a lot, but there were some who said that they were interested in talking about that case. Well, the reason why I asked the question, I think I said something like, how many have had an Ernesto in their life? Well, you know what? I kind of think of, if you didn't have some form of an Ernesto, they kind of qualify you as a woman. You hope to have them when you're young, unlike Shirley, who got hers when she was in her 60s. But hey, just a little bit more devastating. So anyway, this story is about during the time when I was with my Ernesto, which was my ex-husband. I was married 18 years, and I'm so happy that that season of my life is over. I'm going to tell this story in bits and pieces because 18 years is a lot to try to wrap up in a quick little morning session. So this particular story, we had, I'm trying to think, were we married? Well, let me start it. I might as well start from the beginning, then tell the stories. Okay. So, at this particular time, I was a single parent, and I had wanted to get my life together because I just felt like I didn't have peace mentally for me. So, I decided I wanted to reconcile my relationship with God. And so I went searching for a church. I kept praying for God to send me to a church or, a place of worship where it was a female pastor, and I wanted to see how you grow a church. Well, he gave me both. And so at this time we were a church. We started from a Bible study, and at this point we were a church, but an extremely small church, and we didn't have our own building at that time. We were renting out spaces. And so at this point, we were actually renting out a space in the Blue Ribbon Cab. If people in the South know Blue Ribbon Cab, they were popular before Uber. But we was renting their conference room, the whole services. And so one Thursday, because our Bible study was on Thursday, I came and there was this family that was sitting like kind of up front, and it was a husband, wife, and 2 kids. And so our pastor at the time was working with a nonprofit that helped people out that needed assistance. And so she had met the family, invited them to Bible study, and they came. And I'll never forget because the family just looked so sad. It was like the children's clothes were too little. The man had on a Hawaiian print shirt. And I was just like, oh my God, I felt so bad. So, because I only had my son, and if anybody really gets to know me, I have a little issue with shopping for clothes and stuff. I've gotten better, but back then, my son was sharp as a tack when he went to church. So he had a lot of clothes that he had outgrown. And so I had told after church services, Bible study, I had said that I would bring the clothes for the boys because my son was bigger than both those boys at the time. So I brought his smaller clothes. So anyway, I did that. I took it down there to where my pastor worked, and she gave them to the family. So then it was like some months later. I'm gonna say like maybe, I know somewhere between 4 and 6 months later. I'm gonna say closer to 6. The man shows back up, and he was actually sitting in front of me during Bible study. And I was, you know, when somebody's sitting in front of you, and because I don't know, I'm just kind of observant about people's behaviors and things. That's probably why I went into psychology. And so I noticed that he had really bad dandruff. It was like his hair wasn't washed, and I don't know. And he was saying, the pastor was saying that he needed a job. And so at that time, I'm trying to think who was hiring, because I told him about the position after church. So I can't remember who it was. But I kept thinking to myself, yeah, he needs a job so he can take care of himself. And I wonder where was the rest of the family. Well, he started attending the church on a regular. I guess it's like a year or so later. We believed in laying on of hands, and if you don't know what that means, please, you can ask me in the chat and I will explain it to you. So anyway, this particular Sunday, the pastor was praying for everybody in the church and laying her hands on them. And so when she touched me and I fell out, when I was laying on the floor, I distinctly felt like I heard God say, "This is your husband. Look to your right." And see, I wasn't looking for a husband. The only thing I had prayed to God was that he would teach me how to be a holy woman, and for me not to have men look at me like with lust and desire. I really wanted to learn how to have a real relationship with men where there was nothing about sex involved and stuff like that. And so that's a whole nother story when I gave that prayer. But anyway, that's what I was working through. So I had been celibate and I wasn't dating or anything like that. And so my son just kept praying for a father because his father wasn't in his life. He wanted a dad. He just kept, every time the pastor's like, you know, we're going to bring our rod of prayers down, bring them up or whatever. That's what he was praying for. So when I opened my eyes and looked over to my right, who did I see? The man that I was telling you about with the Hawaiian shirt and the pitiful looking family and the dandruff in his hair. And I'm just like, no, sir. No, that ain't him now. And I was just, no. So after church, I went up to my pastor and I was like, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" And she was like, "Yeah." And so I told her about my experience, and she just started jumping up and down and whooping and hollering and all this stuff. And I'm literally standing there crying, really, because I'm like, oh no, this could not be. No, this is God. He don't look nothing like what I asked for. He ain't built like nothing that I asked for. He ain't got no job, and he got small children, more than one. I'm like, what? No. So I'm crying and she jumping up and down, and so I'm like trying to figure out, well, please tell me why you were so happy. So she tells me about how a week earlier he had come down to where she was working at the nonprofit, and he told her that God has told him that his wife was in the church. So she was like, well, told him who his wife was and she was in the church. So she was like, well, which woman is it? So she said when he told her me, she was just like, nah, oh no, Deborah, no, She was like, nah, Deborah will never accept him. Nope. So she was like, okay. So when she tells me the story, now I'm like, okay, what the heck? What is really going on here? Now, when I became a Christian, I don't like to say Christian, but I really got in a relationship with Christ. He knew exactly what type of mess I was, and I'm gonna tell you straight up, he will meet you where you're at, because I was not in line saying that I wanted to be a Christian, and that's a whole nother story there in itself. So I was still working through some things. As far as me walking out, trying to live holy and righteous and just trying to get it right. I mean, you don't get it right every day, but you're striving towards living the best life that you can. But one of my things is I'm a nosy woman, nosy. So I knew nothing really about this man. And so he was actually staying with another brother and sister in the church. And so, and at this time, her husband was the youth pastor. So the kids would go over there a lot. And they actually had this really big park in front of their house. So they were having people from the church to come over to their house so the kids could play. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to take my son, because I want to find out more about this man. And so I went that day, and my son got to play with the other kids from the church that he knew, and me and my ex sat and we talked, and we actually had great conversation. Great conversation. One thing that I was impressed about him was that he was faithful about being in his word, praying, reading the Bible, and I guess that's what keeps him straight. Lord knows he needs it. So, so from there, we kind of started talking on the phone and stuff. And I'm going to end it there and see who comes back to see what else happens. All right, guys, I'll be back if our favorite person has some foolishness going on today. I hope everybody is having a tell-telling Thursday. That's what we'll call it, a tell-telling Thursday. All right, guys, me and Parker says bye.